Hey everybody, it's Missy again. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm back with a new layout for the Hip Kit Club, and this is my fourth layout using the February 2018 kits. And our theme this week is flowers and butterflies. And so I've got the remnants of one of these Maggie Holmes Flourish papers that I used the bulk of it for another layout, and then I've got another full sheet of it, and I'm going to do some fussy cutting of some of those butterflies. And then I've already done a little bit of cutting with some of the cut files for March, and if these are not uploaded yet on the Hip Kit website under the cut files tab, they should be very soon. And so there's a couple of different frames. There are these really cute butterflies, and so I just cut some of these out on white cardstock, and I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with them yet. I just know that I want to include those on my background, and so I'm going to start with that, and then I'm going to use what's left of this paper to cut out some of the full butterflies. And I don't even have my picture chosen yet. I don't really have a design idea. I just know that I really like that frame, and I wanted to kind of start with that as a base and then have my photo in the middle of it, and then sort of having all of these butterflies flying around it. And so that's kind of the idea I've got. And I've also pulled out some of the dimensional die cut butterflies, and there's my picture. It's my mother-in-law and my youngest daughter from a few years ago. They were just sitting in the recliner together looking cute, and I'm going to somehow make that work. I am going to jazz up the background, and I'm using some white basil marshmallow cardstock, and that's from the cardstock kit. It's very smooth, thick cardstock, and it's great for doing mixed media stuff on it. Now this is clear gesso that I just used, and I covered most of the paper with it, and I'm going to let that dry. And what I'm going to do for starters is I want to back this leaf stem here, and I want to kind of create an ombre look. So I want to start at the top leaf and go really light, and then as the leaves come down toward the bottom of the frame, I want to make it a little bit darker. And so I'm going to start with light blue from that pink fresh paper, and then kind of work my way down using what I have left of this crepe paper. I've used a good chunk of it, and this is just a good example of saving your scraps, because I'm going to back this little leaf stem here, and look how little paper it takes to do it. So just because you use half of a sheet of paper or 3/4 of it, if you still got a nice chunk of it left, save it, because you never know when you only need like little bits and pieces of it. And so there I have that done. I love how that turned out. It looks a little more realistic when I, change the colors on it and don't do it all one solid color. And I don't want the frame to be solid white, so I'm going to give it a light coat of watercolor here just to make it a little light blue and not so stark white. And I'm just blending a couple of shimmers from past color kits. I used a little bit of Snow Wayman and Well Blew Me Down, and I cannot remember what kits those came in, but within the last 6 or 7 months, everything that we've gotten in the color kits is still on my desk, because everything seems to coordinate from month to month, and I use it all the time. Now this is from this month's color kit, the stencil is, and it's really pretty floral, and I'm using the Puttin' on the Glitz Shimmers Pasties, and we got that a few months ago as well, and it's going to dry clear, and it's going to have basically like a glittery finish, and so when you see it sparkle in the light, it's going to look like fine glitter is in there, and it's very subtle. You can see it when I turn it in the light there. And what this is going to do is, it depends on what you use on it. You could use this as a resist. I'm mainly using it for texture, and I think it turns out really cool. And you'll see in a second when I get to that. I'll talk about that when I do it. But this is kind of the idea that I had. I wanted a real fun textury background, and all these butterflies just kind of flying around the page. Now, I have not used this yet much this month. This is the Dina Wakley Lemon Yellow acrylic paint, and I'm going to lighten it up just a hair with a little bit of white acrylic paint, and then I also spritzed a little bit of the Shimmers Glorious Day, and it's kind of a golden yellow, and we got that in a color kit a few months ago as well. And I'm just going to scrape over this with my palette knife, and look, you can instantly see some of the shape of the stencil pop up. Now you could, if I was to use, say, the Distress Oxide on this and use it dry and smudge it on top of it, the pasties would act as a resist. And so with the palette knife, when I scrape it, it's going to hit the top part of that texture paste, and so it's actually going to stay on top of it. And I really love how that looks. It's very abstract, very messy, very textury. I know textury is not a word, but it just seems like the right word to say right now. And I love this yellow. It is so pretty. And there's yellow in some of the butterflies, so I think this is going to turn out really nice. This is also in the color kit this month, the Cracked Pistachio Distress Oxide, but I'm not going to use it dry. I'm going to water it down and just kind of dab it on with my brush a little bit, trying not to mix it too much with the yellow at this point. I'm going to spray in a little bit of the Snow Wayman just to get a little bit of color variation. Spray some right onto the paper. And this is a good reason, or the main reason, why I use gesso, because you can see that this is going to stay wet for a little while. It's not going to soak right into the paper. It's going to kind of separate the paint from the paper and give it a little protective barrier, and it's going to allow the paint to blend and smudge and work together really, really nicely. Gesso can make all the difference, I think. And I just think how this looks so pretty. I love it. And it's going to look totally different when I start to add everything on top of it. I'm going to add a little bit of pink, just splatters here. And that is a Vibes Sweetheart, also from a color kit. Do a little bit of blending here. You can see with this thick cardstock and the gesso, you can really go to town with the water or anything that's got a lot of liquid, and the paper is going to be able to withhold it or stand it and not totally rip. Now I did a little stitching around the edge of this frame, and then I decided to cut off the bottom chunky part and then kind of work my photo a little bit crooked in there. I don't want it perfectly straight. It's a little bit small to fit perfectly behind the frame. And so I'm going to start to embellish here. This is one of the Project Life cards. I'm going to fussy cut out this cute little circle, and it says, "It was a beautiful thing to see." And it's got a little butterfly on the end. And then I'm going to start to work on layering here. This is one of the Paige Evans die cuts from the Pick Me Up collection, that little pink floral piece that I just tucked in there. And then I'm going to work on the butterflies. Also, I've got some flowers and small die cuts from Pink Fresh Studio. I've got the wood veneer. I've got the Pick Me Up rub-ons. And I'm just going to start playing around with different things here. I kind of like how this looks at this point. It's very light. All the butterflies are just fluttering around. I'm going to add a little bit of tissue paper behind that main element there with the picture and the frame, just to add a little bit of a messy background border that's still kind of subtle, but still adds to the messiness of it. And then I'm going to start to lightly glue some things down that I know I don't want to move. And I actually do not add any foam to this to raise it up. I'm going to just kind of leave it as is since there's so much going on right there. So I'm going to leave this pretty flat. It's fun to just kind of tuck things in here and there. I love to tuck things underneath the picture and on top of the picture if the picture allows it. Now, if you look at this picture, you know, it's black and white. So around the upper part, like around their heads and shoulders, it's just black because they were sitting in the recliner and it was kind of pushed back up against the corner of the room. And so there's nothing important back there. And so since it's black and white, it's just empty space. And so overlapping that little circle there does not take away from the picture. It doesn't cover their faces or anything. It just sort of gives some depth and dimension, and I love doing that. I'm going to add a couple of these moths from the Pick Me Up collection. The one up top there is from the chipboard stickers, and then I've been dying to use this rub-on. I love the deep pinks in that color, or in that moth. It's so, so pretty. And then I'm going to play around with these die cuts. I cut out 3, but I only wind up using the 2 that are on there now. I didn't want to go too busy. And I thought about adding some more like leaf stems from the die cuts, but I just couldn't make it work. I even tried this wood veneer. I do add that little flower, but I think that's it as far as leaves go. And now I play around with some more die cuts. I just wanted to keep adding, but the more I added, the more busy it looked. I didn't want to take away from the light, airy feeling of all those butterflies. I do add some thread. I've got some of that darker navy blue that I'm going to add over there to the left, since I've got that navy blue butterfly on the right. And then over to the right here, I'm going to add some lighter pink thread. And then I'm going to start to glue all of that down. And that is Scotch Tacky Glue that is in my fine liner bottle. And that's the same bottle I think I've used for a couple of years. It's well loved. That's why it looks so grungy, but it works like a charm, and I'm going to use it until it croaks. Now I'm going to kind of do something that's probably going to make people cringe here. I'm going to cut this frame up because I know right now I'm not going to use it as is, but I want to use this little sentiment down here at the bottom. It's got this little tag attached to it, and I can't remember what it says at this point, but I'm going to use it down at the bottom and then use a piece of it at the top so I can echo that white with the black and white polka dots, and it's just a subtle little something to add on there. And then I'm going to add some hearts. These are from the Amy Tangerine, I can't remember. I don't know. What's the name of that collection? I don't even remember off the top of my head. But the colorful words are so cute, and I go back and forth with what to do with my title because, oh yeah, before I forget, I did some stitching. Gold thread. I decided to make little trails behind all of the butterflies, and I think that just really sets the whole layout off. I love how that looks. So cute. But I struggled with the title because when I was making this page, I didn't even think about the title. I didn't consider where I was going to put it, what size it was going to be, what it was going to say, nothing. So once I got to the end, I thought, oh, title, what am I going to do? And I have not used those big gold glitter thickers yet. And so I wanted to incorporate those somehow. And so I'm going to create the title Love Thursdays, because every Thursday since my daughters were born, that was the day that my mother-in-law would come to our house. And so Thursday is just her day for visits. And so Love Thursdays is going to be the title. And I'm going to make sure they're straight because, of course, they weren't. And then I'm going to tuck in a couple of these Pink Fresh Studio epoxy hearts. And I really like how the title turned out. I love those big letters combined with those mini thickers from Pick Me Up. I think they're really cute. And I love the navy. I almost used the white ones, but I'm glad I went with the navy. I think it adds a nice pop of that dark blue down there. And then I want a pop of that dark pink up at the top, and so I do that with some thread. And that's another good reason to use thread. If you like the look of it, it adds nice pop of color when you don't have another embellishment in that color. Because I wanted to use something with that dark pink and that moth down at the bottom, but I didn't have anything that color, and so the thread sort of came to the rescue. I'm going to add another moth rub-on over on the right, and I'm just going to go ahead and line it up with the thread since I didn't really want to get my sewing machine back out to do more of that. And I'm going to use up the rest of the little teeny tiny rub-ons that are on that piece there. I think we're getting close to being done. Yeah, I struggled to open up my white. No, that's not white. That's gold. I don't even have white color shine. Gold color shine. The lid was stuck, and I had to really work to get it open. But I added some gold color shine splatters, and then I drew some lines, and I'm going to add the journaling, and I think that is going to be it. Yep, that's it. There's the final layout. I love how this turned out. I love the butterflies. I think the colors are really pretty. It was fun making the background, and I love how the title turned out. And I think it fits the theme of flowers and butterflies. So be on the lookout for those cut files. I believe they were uploaded today or tomorrow, so double check for those. I just received my March kit, so I know a lot of you over on the forum have said you've gotten your March kits. They are so gorgeous, as always, so I can't wait to start playing with those for next week. Let me know if you have any questions about any of these products or any of the techniques or anything at all. I'll be more than happy to answer. Thank you again to everyone who subscribes and leaves their awesome comments. You guys are so good. I love you all. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.